evening. I'd like to call the July 14th, 2020 regular City Council meeting to order. I'd like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and by teleconference for public comment. City staff is at an off-site location participating through video conference. If you are joining through teleconference, please mute your telephone to prevent noise interference until you provide your public comment. Due to the structure of this meeting, I'd like to remind council to have their microphones turned on and positioned so that the audience can hear. Deputy City Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Meyer?
Here.
Councilmember Percival?
Here.
Councilmember Wright?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Here.
Mayor Brown?
Here. And do we have a representative from Interfaith Council here tonight? If not, then I will offer an invocation, which will be, let's see if there's people in the lobby. Okay, so I will offer an invocation, and after which we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Percival. Please rise. Lord, we are here tonight because we want to do good for your kingdom. Let us be effective and decisive. Strengthen us as we make tough decisions. Father, please guide us so that this meeting can be productive and that good results can be seen long after today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation. Place your hand over your heart. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, moving on to item 10. We have the City Attorney's report from closed session. Joining us tonight, we have City Attorney Thomas Jex. Welcome.
Thank you. The City Council met in closed session with respect to the items on the closed session agenda, and there is no reportable action on any of the items, and that concludes the report.
Thank you, Tom. Item 11A is a presentation from Western Community Energy Representative Tyler Master, and hopefully Tyler is on the line.
I am here, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for joining us, Tyler. Wish we had
Yeah, thank you. My name is Tyler Masters. I'm the Director of Western Community Energy, and I'd like to provide you an update on the launch of Western Community Energy, or WCE for short. But first, I'd like to thank and appreciate Mayor Brown and Councilmember Wright, who have both represented the city on WCE's Board of Directors in the Director and Alternate Director capacities, and to City Manager Chris Lopez, who represents the city on the WCE Technical Advisory Committee. We know it's been a long journey, but we appreciate your leadership and guidance through program launch. I'd also like to appreciate you for allowing me the opportunity to provide this presentation telephonically. Next slide, please. So slide number 2 is, since we're doing this telephonically, I'll try to kind of walk through what slide we're on, so we're all on the same one. So slide number 2, what is Western Community Energy? I am pleased to announce that in April, Western WCE became the default electric service provider and neighborhood power authority in the cities of Norco, Paris, and Wildomar, followed by the May launch within the cities of Eastville, Hemet, and Harupa Valley. Enabled by state law, these cities have really come together, creating WCE, allowing for WCE now to provide the electricity to customers as an alternative to the previous energy provider. It's also known as Community Choice Aggregation, or CCA. I'll try to refrain from using those acronyms through the presentation. Next slide, please. So slide number 3, how it works. WCE does not replace Southern California Edison. Instead, we view SCE as a valuable partner in providing our joint customers the benefits of affordable, clean electricity.
I'm muted. Go ahead.
I gotta tell my mom to put up pictures and down in stuff because I'm very, they will be in my stomach.
I'm sorry. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback.
I'm in front of the at 8.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Bear with us, Tyler. We have some people on the teleconference line, I think, need to mute their phones.
Okay. If people on the phone could mute that, I would appreciate it. I apologize that. So WC would, as I was mentioning, WC purchases the electricity. We partner with SCE to deliver that energy through their distribution lines to you, our joint customers. The customers are the ones that would benefit from the affordable clean energy. So next slide, please. We are on slide number 4 here. What WCE provides really is, again, a choice in service where none has been provided before. Now our subregion has a choice of what kind of electricity we procure and how much we pay for it. This can be used as a tool in the toolkit as an economic development tool to attract businesses through lower utility bill rates, by example. While this, quite honestly, while this approach does sound new, it actually isn't. It has a long and strong track record of success across the state. Including WCE, there are currently over 21 similar programs across California, which include participation of over 170 municipalities. Over a third of California participates in a CCA. All have met their goals set by their individual boards, those up north, those down south. And to my knowledge, no cities have dropped out of participation of an existing CCA. Next slide, please, on slide number 5. Talking for a moment about program goals, the WCE board, which is made up of elected officials from each of the WCE member agencies, have developed a regionally relevant and effective set of goals for staff. The first really is to provide an electricity rate, a default electricity rate called our choice plan. That's comprised of 37% renewable sources like wind, solar, etc. This 37% number is important as it meets and slightly exceeds statewide goals, which were set at 33% for 2020 year. Additionally, it's slightly cleaner than the alternative default rate provided by Southern California Edison. The second and arguably more important goal is to provide that same default rate as a discounted, that same default plan at a discounted rate. Lowering the total utility bill by roughly 2% was the goal. Additional goals include offering a voluntary opt-up program option for residents called our Choice Plus plan for those folks that want to know that 100% of their electricity comes from a clean or green source. And then the last program goal really is to focus on building up the reserve so that we can weather any sort of future volatility in the energy markets and in doing so, keeping electricity rates affordable for our customers. Next slide, please. We're on slide number 6 now. This slide just represents the amount of outreach and communications that we've done since 2018, since our board of directors, since the inception of our board of directors in August 2018. We've had a very robust outreach campaign. It's included things like electronic billboards on the 15 and 215. We had commercials in movie theaters in Hemet and across the subregion. We've participated in over 25 community events. We've had a whole host of digital print outreach. We regularly provide updates through social media channels. One additional item that we like, and this is actually part of the enabling law, is we sent out 4 physical mailer notifications to all of our customers, 2 prior to launch, so 2 before May, and then 2 after launch in May and June. So those notifications are represented there as pictures on this slide. Next slide, please. We're on slide number 7. An additional item that we're required to do annually, and an additional thing that we think is a very good tool, is every July, Edison and WC work together to develop what's called a joint rate comparison. And this is a tool for our customers to really be able to compare side by side what the Edison rate is and what the equivalent WCE rate is on the same piece of paper in the same file to be able to understand what their savings would be. So these mailers went out early July. If you haven't received them, you should be receiving them in a couple of days. The mailers represent the 3 most common rate types across the subregion, and those are the residential rates, the care, the income qualified care residential rate, and small and large business rates. While the mailers only cover a couple of different rates, on WCE's and Edison's website, you can find the full joint rate comparison for an apples-to-apples comparison of all of the SCE and the WCE and Edison rates. Next slide, please. On slide number 8 here, we are pleased to announce that we were able to realize the 4% savings on generation, which results in a 2% lower utility bill. We know this has been a long journey, but when we started many years ago, we identified that we could see that savings, and through launch, we've been able to realize it. So what a 2% savings means to our subregion since launch, since May of 2020, we have $1.2 million has stayed back into the pockets of our customers and your community members. So we have a savings counter on our website that's updated every minute, and just as a couple days ago, we're about 1.2 million saved. So that's a neat note. Next slide, please. We're on slide number 9 here. Customer participation is a big part of Western Community Energy. We track it on a weekly basis. And as of last week, our regional opt-out rate is 4.7%. And city-specific numbers are actually lower than that at 4.3%. So, a 4.3%, the inverse, we believe, is true, meaning that we have over 95% participation within our subregion and the city of Hemet as participating customers in Western Community Energy. Next slide, please. Some resources that we have on slide number 10. We will continue to have a professionally staffed call center. It's been up and running since February to answer questions, billing-related questions, WCE-related questions, and it will remain open indefinitely. The number is there. It is 866-356-4175 for those on the phone. Next slide, please. On slide number 11, we also have a website, obviously, westerncommunityenergy.com. On the website includes all of our rates. It includes the kind of the rate comparison, the joint rate comparison I talked about earlier. It has a number of other things, including frequently asked questions. Actually, I believe it's on the next slide. So next slide, please. On the website are a number of different frequently asked questions. We have some video FAQs. We recently developed a pre- and post-launch frequently asked questions that cover a lot of the bases of the questions that we've received most recently. Next slide, please. Slide number 13. WC also developed a pop-up display prior to COVID. We were able to get this to all of our member agencies, and last I saw it was residing in City Hall in the city of Hemet. The purpose of this was to provide, where there is foot traffic at the city, to provide a lot of the frequently asked questions and to kind of explain how WC works, but also where folks could call and go online to get additional information as needed. Next slide, please. We're on slide number 14. Actually, we can advance it one more to slide number 15. We received now, since launch, we've received a number of frequently asked questions that I'd like to kind of go through with you really quickly here. Slide number 15, the question is, must all residents and businesses participate? The answer is no. Customers can opt out and join whenever they would like. We did provide the 2 notifications pre and post launch on how to opt out. Next slide, please. The second question that we have is, I have solar, can I participate? The answer is yes. Customers with solar can participate in WCE. The one caveat that I would mention is while we enrolled, the mass enrollment for the City of Hammond occurred in May, we have aligned certain solar customers to enroll on a quarterly basis to better align with their annual 12-month true-up. If you have solar every 12 months, they'll calculate at the end of the year whether you have generated more or consumed more electricity. That's called the true-up. And to lessen any confusion on solar customers, we chose to enroll those customers much closer to their true-up. So there's not 2 true-ups, and that would confuse their enrollment. But those solar customers that do participate in WCE, if at the end of the year you do generate more electricity than you use, you would be compensated for the difference. So historically in Edison's case, they would cut you a check or a credit for that difference in what you used versus what you generated if you generated more. WCE would do the same. Our net compensation rate is a little under 7 cents, where historically the past 6 months Edison has ranged from 3.5 to 5 cents per kilowatt hour. So that difference adds up. But we do the same. We just pay out at a slightly higher margin. Next slide, please. On slide number 17, as a customer of WCE, can I continue to participate in SCE programs? Yes, you can continue to participate in the majority of programs. A lot of them are funded either on the delivery side of the bill, which remains the same, or they're all state-run required programs. Income qualified programs like CARE and FARA will continue without needing any sort of reapplication or anything like that. Rebates, like electric vehicle rebates, will remain through Edison. Programs like medical baseline, level pay, and summer discount plan, programs will also remain. The one program that we did identify that does not carry over is a smart thermostat program. There are about 1,300 customers that participate in that. And currently, WC is looking for funding opportunities to be able to recreate that program and more programs for our localized for our subregion. Next slide, please. Slide number 18 now is what will my bill look like as a WC customer. Edison continues to do the billing support and operation, so the bill will continue to come from Southern California Edison. WCE would just be a line item on that bill. So slide number 18 here, at the bottom of it shows a number 3 and an arrow pointing towards it. That would essentially be replaced with WCE's generation charges. So that line item is already in the bill. It's just going to be replaced with WCE. There will also be, WCE will also replace, I think it's page 6 or 7 on the bill, the page of the Edison bill that talks about generation charges again. Next slide, please. Slide number 19 is just where you can get more information. We have a number of handles for social media on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our website, again, is westerncommunityenergy.com. Next slide, slide number 20 is our last slide. That's our contact. I think you know us pretty well, but the one thing I would like to mention is the the newest member on our team actually hails to us from the city of Hemet, so we wanted to appreciate you and City Manager Chris Lopez for letting us indefinitely borrow Ms. Avi Barron. That concludes my report, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Tyler, for that walkthrough and very informative. Council, any questions of Tyler? Okay. Must have done a thorough job. There's no questions. So, again, thank you very much, and hopefully we can have you here in person at the next update.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes our presentation. Moving on to item 12, communications from the public. To accommodate public comment, we've made some temporary changes to this part of our agenda that were necessitated to comply with COVID-19 directives. There's a temporary 2-minute per person time limit for all general public comments on non-public hearing items. All who wish to speak, including council members and staff, need to be recognized by the mayor before speaking. Members of the public shall comply with adopted rules of decorum, resolution number 4545, a copy of which can be requested through the city clerk's office. You may also fill out a form and submit your comments online at www.hemetca.gov/councilchamberlive, and it will be read aloud. Submittal must be done before 2 p.m. the day of the meeting. For those who wish to join by teleconference, you can do so by calling 888-585-9008. When prompted, dial 768-176-038. You'll be asked for your name prior to speaking. And as a reminder, if you're joining by teleconference, please mute your telephone to prevent interference until you're given time to provide your comment. Please state your name and the item that you're commenting on before you speak. After the conclusion of communications from the public and public hearing item, the teleconference line will be deactivated. Public is encouraged to continue to watch the live stream at hemetca.gov/councilchamberlive. So item 12A is public comment for items listed on the agenda. Deputy City Clerk, do we have any electronic comments submitted to be read aloud for consent or discussion items?
No, Mayor, no electronic comments were submitted.
Are there any members of the public participating through teleconference that would like to comment on any consent or discussion items?
There's one member on the line. I unmuted the line if they would have a comment.
Okay, the person that's on the line, did you have a comment on a consent or discussion agenda item?
Not at this current moment.
Okay. Are there members of the public present that have submitted a request to speak for consent or discussion items?
Yes, Mayor, there's one comment for a discussion item. Pat Gregory.
Evening, Pat.
Good evening, Pat Gregory. I just would like to clarify, am I allowed to speak on the budget?
Only on the items that are listed on consent calendar or for discussion.
Is there a reason why there's no more general comments?
That'll come up later.
Okay, well, then I want general comments.
Okay.
I want to talk about the budget.
No problem.
Thank you.
Don't go too far. Okay, there are no more requests to speak on agendized items?
Correct, there are no more requests to speak.
Okay, item 12B is public comment for items not listed on the agenda, but within jurisdictional matter. Deputy City Clerk, are there any electronic comments submitted to be read aloud for non-agendized items?
No, Mayor, there are no electronic comments submitted.
Are there any members of the public participating through the teleconference that would like to comment on any non-agendized items?
I have unmuted the line. I'm not sure if the member on the line would like to submit comment.
Okay, the person that's on the line, if you have a comment for an item that's not on tonight's agenda, if you would like to speak on that, please state your name and the topic. Are you still there? Okay, well, we know that Pat Gregory's here, and she would like to speak on an item that's not on the agenda. So, Pat, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening. First, I'd like to ask why the public is limited to only 2 minutes. Several council members aren't wearing masks, and it just seems to me a bit hypocritical and a reason to limit public comments. That being said, I'd like to read to you from a letter written by our overpriced attorney, Eric Vale, to the City Council members on December 13, 2016. He states, however, unless amended or repealed by the City Council, the resolution, 4731, would be a valid expression of the intent of the City Council and therefore is binding upon the City. Let me repeat. The City Attorney says that 4731 is binding upon the City. At the last meeting, the City Manager proposed a budget that did not comply with this resolution. Yet 2 council members and the mayor ignored their promise and voted for the questionable budget. Even more disturbing is the fact that council members Krupa and Wright made a previous promise before Measure U was voted by stating the City Council shall dedicate 100% of the tax proceeds to enhancing public services and increasing funding. Yet these 2 councilwomen had to know back in 2016 that they would never keep their promise because Hemet couldn't afford the level of service in 2016, let alone enhance services going forward. These 2 councilwomen do not deserve to sit up there and represent the citizens of Hemet. These 2 council members also voted to borrow money for a fire engine that could possibly be restricted. So possibly, again, they're violating the public trust. Lastly, I would like to know why a budget was even presented in the first place without publication of the 2019 CAFR. Where is it, and what are you hiding? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other speaker slips?
Yes, Mayor, there are 3 more requests to speak. The first one is Cal Solanki, followed by D.L.
Okay, hello, Mayor, respected council members. My name is Cal Solanki. I'm a proprietor of the Travel Lodge. December 2019, I had a fire. We've been working diligently with your building and planning staff, and all of our emails and everything got lost. It's taken me 7 months to get a permit, which I think is ridiculous in this city. We sent everything that we could to all of your staff members, and everything was neglected and lost. Now, my insurance is going to expire by the end of this month because I can't get it without a city permit. It wasn't until I raised all this heck with the help of Councilmember Meyer that I was able to finally get some sort of proof of a permit. Is this the way that I have to do business in this city? Secondly, I'm about to spend $1.2 million on a repair. If that's money that could be contributed to the city to keep everybody employed and working, that's what I'm trying to do. But through the negligence of your building and planning staff, I'm here today to let you know, how do you guys expect us to continue to do business with the city? All we wanted to do was get our plans approved, and they were approved since June. June 11th. We have emails back from your building and planning staff that they were approved on June 11th, and it took me 1 month and 3 days to get an answer back from the staff. I don't know why they are just telecommuting everything. We all have to work. You all have to work. And Mr. Lopez's answer to me was, oh, he wanted to see why are these people working when there's so many people outside that don't have jobs. So what are they doing in your building and planning department? To get anything done with them is like pulling teeth. And now I'm just afraid of retaliation from them after I've done all of this, that they're going to harass me more when I try to complete my project. I've got 7 rooms down, and I just need to get my income up and ready, but I can't even get insurance because the city of Hemet refused to issue me a permit for work that was already done through structural engineering, through a hired general contractor, and through insurance adjusters. We played by all the rules. Everything you guys asked us to do, we did. But it didn't take any effort from your office to even reach out to us. We sent them countless emails, countless phone calls, and then it was finally until Council Member Meyer stepped in that we finally got some sort of resolution. I don't know how anybody can ever deal with this type of frustration here.
Okay, thank you. Your time has expired. I would like to invite you to speak with our Community Development Director, H.P. Kang. H.P., raise your hand. Maybe you could chat out in the lobby and we'll get some progress on that.
Thank you. I do have one thing to add on that. I believe that his permit was issued today. So as soon as I was made aware of the issue, I had community development follow up and take care of the item.
Thank you.
Next up is Dee Patel, followed by Matt McPherson.
Good evening. My presence here today is mainly to solidify the comments made by Mr. Solanke. I am a partner of his in different projects throughout the region. I am also a landowner in Hemet, and I want to build a brand new facility from the ground up. And I've been working with him on this rebuild of the travel lodge, and seeing his frustrations and dealing with the issues that he's been had to deal with, primarily with insurance, writing him about getting a new policy or getting the permitting, it just seemed like there was nothing more we could do to get this moving. And how am I to think about the future about building a brand new $8 million facility in the city if he's dealing with this based on just a very small aspect of his business being down and having waited for 6 months for this process. Thank you.
Anything further?
No, I thought my light went on.
No, you still have 45 seconds.
No, I'm sorry.
If you're through, no, it's the yellow light. You have till the red light comes.
Okay, well, you can see our frustration. We're sitting there waiting for electronic transmissions to come through, and everybody's sitting on the sideline. The insurance company is not paying for the down rooms and the revenue for him, and I suspect that if I deal with the same process, it's just going to be a hair-raising experience for me too. I don't know what more we could have done or the right people to talk to. Thank you.
Okay. Again, I would invite you to chat with our Community Development Director in the lobby, and maybe he can get you the answers to your questions. Okay?
After Matt McPherson, that is the last comment.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm here on behalf of downtown business owners, property owners, farmers market, and the tree lighting. I have a suggestion I thought I'd make regarding the Christmas parade. Now that we have a median, I'm suggesting we bring the Christmas parade back downtown. I think that'd be a great catalyst to try and stimulate some stuff we're trying to do in the downtown. And the one reason I propose it now is Santa Fe to Gilbert is the only section of Florida that doesn't have a median. So if you have floats going down in front of the Hemet Mall, you're going to have to pick a side. You know what I mean? It's going to make the parade a little more hazardous. Kids are going to be running out in the median trying to get candy. So I think we should consider possibly bringing it back to the traditional Santa Fe to Gilbert route. It emphasizes downtown. You could have a festival at Weston Park. I'll have the tree lighting on Harvard and Florida. We'll have our festivals and the farmers market to accommodate it. I just think it's a no-brainer. We have everybody trying to figure out how to fix the downtown. So I think this is one suggestion that might take merit. Another thing, Destination Coffee Shop. I go there all the time. I love it. And back about 4 or 5 years ago, the Traffic and Parking Commission cordoned off the field right next to them. It's ideal for parking, for outdoor dining. They have so much business they can't accommodate all their customers right now. Another suggestion I was looking at, I've been researching, I mean, this is kind of a far-fetched thing, but the City of Colton has that rail yard where they have all the antique food cars and all that stuff. I was thinking, how neat would it be if the city could cooperate and get some of those antique 1940s, 30s train cars, the food cars, right there because they're running out of dining space. How cool would that be to have 3 or 4 of them right there, historically preserve them, remove those barriers so people could come up and park there, and then you would quadruple the eating space there. Okay, I'm out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your suggestions.
There are no more requests to speak, Mayor.
No more?
There's no more requests.
And the person that was on the teleconference line, are you still there? Apparently not. Okay, well, we'll move on to public hearing, item 13. City Council's procedure for public hearing will be as follows. Staff will provide a report and clarification of items presented. Public hearing will be open for comments from those in favor of or in opposition to the item, followed by rebuttal to any comments made. Public hearing will be closed. City manager may respond to any questions raised by the public. The public will not, however, have an opportunity to respond. Discussion will be brought back to the City Council for direction or action. So, we have a staff report on tonight's public hearing.
Yeah, I believe we have Tim as well as our consultant that will be able to provide this staff report for the council and the public. Tim?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a public hearing to consider resolutions approving the engineer's reports for the levy and collection of assessments related to the city's streetlight and landscape maintenance districts for fiscal year 2020-2021. Basically, the streetlight assessments would cover the assessment for operation, maintenance, and servicing of streetlights and related structures, whereas the landscape assessments would cover any variety of things, for the most part, operation, maintenance, and servicing of structures, landscaping, including trees and shrubs, and other ornamental vegetation. I just also want to point out that this is fairly time sensitive. The materials that would need to be submitted to the county early part of August to make it onto the rolls for the next tax cycle. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and as City Manager indicated, Chris Thomas from Harris and Associates is on the line as well.
Okay, any questions from council, staff?
With the cuts that we made in our budget, are we going to have any problems fulfilling our obligations to the people that are paying these taxes?
So Tim can comment on that, but this is not a general fund item, so the reductions were not focused in on those areas, but Tim can provide some more commentary on that.
Yeah, we absolutely have made no cuts whatsoever to the special districts, and we have enough funds to ensure that the ongoing maintenance is adhered to and we meet the requirements of the actual districts themselves.
Okay, if there are no more questions of staff on this, I will open the public hearing. Deputy City Clerk, are there any requests to speak on this public hearing item?
No, Mayor, there are no requests to speak.
Any further comments from council on this? If not, then I'll entertain a motion. Close the public hearing. Thank you. And now I'll entertain a motion.
I will move approval of this item.
I have a motion to approve,
I'll second that.
and I have a second. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Meyer? Councilmember Percival?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes, that motion passes unanimously. And that concludes the public hearing item, so we'll move on to our item 14, receive and file. Can I have a motion to receive and file these items?
I have a question about these.
Okay.
We got that email from you, but that was helpful. Clarifying some of the expenses. I had because of the different numbers that were involved in this one, I went back and I added up all of our warrant registers for the year. And, I tried to take into consideration like the CIP, our CIP plan, and I know that not all general fund items, this is everything, not just the general fund, but our total is like $88 million, and our budget is, around 50. So how are we spending all that? I mean, maybe it needs to be a rhetorical question, or maybe I can be answered later, but I would like to have some details on that.
Just right off the bat, I can say that that's the general fund portion of the budget, but this also does include the CIP. It does include a number of other restricted funding, the water, utility, sewer, that aren't part of the general fund budget. So that's how you have a higher amount than what's in the general fund budget.
I feel like there needs to be a little bit of reconciliation on that as far as, I don't know, I mean, it's all about checks and balance, right?
Yeah, and that...
Because I went to our CIP, and our CIP does a total, and then things that we've completed on our CIP are not on our CIP, and things that we approved to get done because they're supposed to be on our CIP are not on the CIP, and it looks like a fairly newer document. So...
The CIP is one item that needs to be updated, and we're working with Tim as well as our city engineer in updating that, and we're at a position where we can...
So I know like the bridge, right? I mean, that was this year, so that wasn't as part of it, but there was not an amount to compare and then deduct.
So we're in a position now where we're able to have a conversation just on the staff level and then bring that to council. But the last time that CIP was adopted by the council was a few years ago. So that's definitely due for an update. We can talk about, how we can best provide some of the clarity that you're asking for, but it also includes other items such as, CDBG funding that does get expensed out. And it does include items that do get reimbursed at a later time for the city too. So, payroll related to mutual aid overtime, those types of things too. So there may be an area where, although we budget for, hypothetically, let's just say $500,000 in mutual aid overtime, if we get called out and we get $800,000 of expenditures that wouldn't necessarily reconcile in the immediate side of it, but it would if you look at it over the context of, let's say, a couple years or so.
Right.
But we can have some conversations and see what we can do to address your concern.
It's almost double, so that was...
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Sure. And I'll move to approve or receive and file.
I have a motion to approve. And a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Percival?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright? Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the consent calendar. All consent calendar items will be acted upon simultaneously unless requested by an individual council member for separate consideration. Any council members like to pull an item off of the consent calendar for separate consideration?
I have 15B.
15E.
B as in boy.
Any other consent calendar items? I don't necessarily need to pull this, but I'd like to make a comment on item 15F, as in Frank. And I've been contacted by a couple of constituents on pavement markings, and they specifically mentioned that now that we've finished the Stetson Bridge, and the bridge itself is well delineated and marked, the roadway edge markings are pretty faint, and they're difficult to see when you're driving that area at night. I took a couple passes through there at night, and I'd have to agree with that. So I don't know where that might fall on the striping plan, but I'd like to take a look at that. 15J. Okay. Okay, so I have 15B boy and 15J. May I have a motion to approve the remaining items 15A, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to approve those remaining items. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Percival?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. That passes unanimously. Okay. Carly, 15B.
15B, I feel like we need to maybe wait and bring this back to the next meeting. We had a red line version of this from our city attorney at our last finance committee meeting, at our investment committee meeting, whatever we do. And there are two things missing out of there, and then there's some changes that are not, there was one change that I noticed that wasn't talked about. So I just feel like we need to bring that back. I have the document from the changes from our meetings, so I can forward it to you.
So what we can do is we'll provide the red line version that you're referencing, and then we'll go back and I was speaking to Lorena earlier today, and we haven't had a subsequent meeting with the Investment Oversight Committee to approve the minutes, but we have them drafted up, and so we'll look back at those and make the edits.
I have my notes from that
Okay.
meeting, or the red line version that we changed.
Okay, so if the council desires it and wishes to continue, we can certainly do that.
We had a conversation about that today. I can't find the minutes. So, all right, perfect.
So, matter of protocol would be appropriate to table this item?
Sure. A motion and a vote to table the item.
I'll move to table item 15B. Second.
We have a motion and a second to table item 15B as in boy. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Percival?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes, and that passes unanimously. 15J, Ron?
So I think it's great that we're participating in a first-time buyers program. I'm sorry. However, I understand that the county will manage the program. Is that correct? But who's going to oversee it here?
So the county will administer it, and if I recall correctly, The process will flow through the county, and they will work directly with the county in getting those allocation of funding when needed.
So is that, are you eligible within the entire city of Emmett or just unincorporated areas?
This is for the entire city of Hemet.
Okay, I was hoping to hear that. I find it ironic that the amount that is available are pretty high for first-time buyers, and I see where it was up to like $75,000 for down payment. So I hope this all works. But in any event, I just wanted to make sure that we were still overseeing it and that we weren't going to get caught up in the same issues that we had got caught up with previously, that it's a fair balance at the end of the game as well. So
I was going to pull that to you and I forgot, so I'm glad you did. My question too is if the county's going to run it and administrate it, and then, so why are we going to be involved at all as far as doing nothing? Because, you understand, because we put ourselves out there, but just like that family that came,
right,
and then all of these, I'll say hidden requirements, and then it really puts the city into a bind. Why don't we just let it be between the county and them?
So the amount that's available for the city of Hemet portion cannot be acquired by the county unless the city participates in the program. And that program won't be available for the residents of Hemet. So that's the only reason why we're participating in the program.
So how are we participating?
So the way that we participate is that we go into an agreement with the county and they would administer the program. The money that's allocated to the city of Hemet would be available minus the 5% for administration fee, and 20% of the remainder will be for the first-time home buyer down payment assist, and the remaining 80% will be for any new affordable housing unit program. So that's how it's split up. But all the entitlement process will still go through the city.
And I was quite surprised that the allotted amount for the city is quite significant. So
it's all from that $75 transfer tax. There's been a lot of home sales.
Anyway, I hope it really works.
So you're basically saying if we do not participate in this as a city, there are no first-time buyers within the city limits of Hemet that would qualify for this program?
If we don't participate, then we as a city can go into an agreement with the program itself without going through the county.
And then we would have to
We would have to administer, we would have to maintain all the program, correct.
So the other question is the agreement isn't exactly spelled out in here, so that we don't know that there are questions that are clear or not, because the last thing we need is a family trying to sell their home, and then they come in and ask us to waive a fee that we didn't even really participate in.
And I went on the county's website and tried to look at their program, and it's not very well laid. I mean, they aren't very specific in their program for that very reason. You know, what happens afterwards? It's kind of a general comment. So I hope that we thoroughly look this over before that. And I think it would be horrible if we didn't do it, but I hope that we crossed our T's and dotted our I's before we sign our name.
Absolutely.
And what is the deadline for this? Because the deadline, here, July 27th.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we have been provided the agreement to read? I mean, we have to vote on the agreement right now, but we don't know what the agreement is. We have a letter. We have what kind of letter is this?
Can I interject?
Participation letter. Yep.
So this is for participation in the program. Now, mind you that these are SB2 funds that are part of the $75 transaction recording fee that was added under SB2. All this money that's coming back into the city of Hemet is money that left the city of Hemet from people buying homes in Hemet or buying property or getting a document recorded and having to pay this extra $75 per recording. So this is money coming back. I would like to see that, and I'm sure all of us, and that's what the tone that I'm hearing is that we want to see what the red tape is and what the hoops are and what the strings are that are going to be attached for first-time buyers and the program that the county is offering for this, what we're going to have to be obligating our residents that take advantage of this funding. That's going to be very important, especially the language.
Have you seen this at all? I mean, have you received the agreement that's attached to this?
I have not seen an agreement. Essentially what this is if we decide to go through this process, the county will include us in the application to get the funding from the state. So this is all that does. We can have, I don't know whether they have that or not. I'm sure they do. We can certainly provide that, but this is simply for them to request the funding versus the city requesting the funding. This is all that does. Quite frankly, we don't have the staff capacity to be able to do that.
Right.
And so it really becomes a question as to whether the city would like to participate in that program or not. The only option that we have now to participate in this program is to have the county administer it because we just don't have the staffing to administer this program on our side. So that's really the question.
The language that's in there, if by participating, we're obligated for 5 years. 5 years. However, the county is working on language to get an opt-out clause in there so that we could then administer ourselves at some point. But I agree that we don't have the staffing to be able to administer this.
And $422,000 is a lot.
That's pretty significant.
What is this?